Morning, everybody. Morning. Hey, Click, guess what? You can be dismissed. Well, thanks, Ray, for covering for me last week. Heard it went really well. I saw your sermon on the Facebook page, but I haven't quite listened to it yet. So glad things went well. Had a little hard time getting up the steps this morning. After about my 75th capture the flag game last week, it started to catch up with me. Think of all the biking and running I've been doing would help me with 106 little 9 to 11-year-olds, but it didn't help me at all, I don't think. So we worked a week at camp last week and took Luke up to the UP of Michigan. We had a really good week. And it was really hot though, but we had a really good week and missed you guys. Thought about you often, and glad I'm back for this week. Ray will be covering for me next week as well. Be praying about that. Everybody stand up. Stand up. If you don't want to stand up, you can sit down. For those that are sitting down, those standing up, go over and give them a hug or a noogie. Say you're glad to see them. So, tell somebody howdy. Handshakes don't count. Noogie. Today's going to be my last sermon in a series that I've been doing for the last 4 or 5 weeks called Things Christians Think We're Afraid to Say. In August, we're going to start a new one. And when I say this one, don't look at me like, oh, here it comes. If you're new and you've never been here before, some people will take exception to this. But we're going to do a 3-part series on money. Now, a couple reasons why I'm doing that is, one, we're going to talk about giving, saving, and spending. And it's a lead up to our FPU class that we'll start the 1st of September. You've seen some things in the bulletin, some posters on the walls. We're doing a Financial Peace University class starting in September. And so I'm going to take 3 weeks to sort of lead into that, and then we'll start our class. New Creations will be here the last Sunday of August. So I'm going to take the first 3 and talk about money. It's interesting, of all the years I've been in ministry, this is the first time I've stood up in front of a big church and did a series on money. I've talked to students a lot about money and things like that, but it's not going to be, I'm not going to hound you, give me your money. We're going to talk about giving, we're going to talk about spending, we're going to talk about saving. And the Bible has a lot to say about all 3 of those, and I'm just going to preach the Word. Okay? And so we're going to do that in August. I'm actually looking really forward to it. Because I found if I can get my handle on this thing called money, then my life's a lot simpler. So we're going to talk a lot about that in August, and so hopefully you'll plan to attend that. Let's start out with a word of prayer. God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your love and your grace. And God, I'm going to be real honest with you. I had an awesome week, but I need your Holy Spirit to help me out this morning. So, Father, I pray that the words that come out of my mouth are from you as we talk about something that a lot of us that we deal with, and that's failure. So, God, I pray that people's minds and hearts are open. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Today we're going to talk about I'm afraid of failure. All of us fail, okay? And all of us fail at different things. And I learned something about failure when I was younger, and I think I've told you guys this story before, but I'm going to tell it again because it's a story in my life that really made me do a 180 with failure and fear. Growing up, my mom and dad had me in a lot of sports. I played basketball, I wrestled, I played football, I played baseball. But I remember the first year I started wrestling. You can picture a little 5th grade Brian, about that big, and about that big around. I think I wrestled like 55 pounds or something. It was really small. But I loved it. And my first year wrestling, I did really well. And hadn't lost a match all year long. And coaches were like, yeah. My dad was like, ooh, and proud of him. So we went to the state tournament. And I went in, and my second match, I faced this kid that was a year or so older than me. And he had wrestled, longer than I had. And all my wrestling teammates said, yeah, he's really good. Man, it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be, I'm sitting there thinking, I was afraid before I got on the mat. Have you guys ever been there? You know something's coming and people are talking about it and you're like, and what am I going to do? So I started wrestling this kid and he started to pound me into the mat. I'm talking pound me. If you know anything about wrestling, when you start up standing and then you go at it and then, second round, third round, somebody starts on the bottom, somebody starts on the top. And what happens is if you're on the top, you have somebody's arm and you put as soon as your hand hits the belly, he blows the whistle and you go. But actually like this, I guess. But what I did, he grabbed my arm and he kept breaking me down and slamming my face into the wrestling mat. Boom! I get back up. Boom! I get back up. Boom! He just kept slamming me, and my face was burning. And he just kept, and he was enjoying it too. He really was. I'm not kidding you, he really was. Then I went to the first round. I get up. I am terrified of this kid. I'm on the brink of tears. You guys ever been there? With fear and failure? Third round gets up. He's beat me like 14-0. He never pinned me though. I'll give you that. At least give me a little bit of credit. Third round, I started on top. He did reverse, got back there, and started pounding me into the mat again. Same side of the face, time and time again. Every time I hit it, it was like, hear it. And then I lost it. I started crying. And I looked at my coach and said, I quit. I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. And he just stood there and looked at me. And we ended up being like 20-something-0. And I was a basket case. I was crying and got off the mat. And coaches told me to go sit down. And I went home. And this is one of the times, I don't know if you can remember back to your parents, when there was something they said or something they did that totally changed your relationship with them and your life. This was one of those. I remember my dad being upset with me. Not that I lost, but that I quit. And he told me, he said, Brian, he goes, if you would have lost, you still would have been my son. And nothing's going to take that away. He goes, never, ever give up. Ever. And he goes, what I want you to do is next time you wrestle, he goes, even though it's okay to be afraid, it's okay to be afraid that you might lose, but don't give up. Have you guys ever been paralyzed by that kind of fear? You know something's coming, you're like, I know there's no way I can do this, there's God, I can't get through this, and there's like this you're paralyzed. And that's the way it was when I was in that wrestling match. I was paralyzed by fear of failure, of what my teammates were going to think of me, what my dad was going to think of me. But when my coaches and my dad said, if you fail, I'm still going to love you. Don't ever give up. That changed my life. At that young age. The next year, I made it to the States. Guess who I got to wrestle in the quarterfinals? That same kid. And I remember getting to the line, my heart's pounding, and I'm sitting there and thinking, okay, I remembered what he did to me. I remember that he enjoyed it. You guys, this wasn't a revenge thing. And we're sitting there like this, getting ready to the referee to blow the whistle, and he looks at me and smiles. He remembered who I was. And he was sitting there and he'd go, and I was like, I had a choice at that moment to let fear and failure paralyze me again, or give 100%. The guy lasted 20 seconds and got pinned. And he was done. See, if I would have let fear paralyze me again, he would have won. Again. Now, some of you in here may feel that way, even as adults, with this thing called fear. And it paralyzes you, and it keeps you from moving forward, and it keeps you from doing things in your family, and from doing things with your kids, keeps you from doing things financially. But more importantly, it keeps you from letting God work through you and doing wonderful things in your life because of this thing called fear. So here's what I'm going to do today. I want to challenge you in this thing called fear. 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7 says, God has not given us a spirit of timidity or fear, but a spirit of power and love and self-discipline. So when you're afraid, when you're paralyzed, remember this verse, that God did not give you a spirit of fear, but a spirit of power to get through things in this life. I know you've felt that at some point. And maybe some of you right now are feeling this failure, fear thing. But you know what? You will fail. You will. It's going to happen. James chapter 3 verse 2 says, we all stumble, get this, in many ways. Your pastor stands before you. Sometimes I fail. Sometimes I fail at being a good husband. Sometimes I don't love my wife as Christ loved the church. Sometimes I fail at being a good dad. Sometimes I fail in lots of different areas. James says we stumble in many ways. It can be for you, it could be in your marriage, or maybe you fail in your quiet time, in your prayer time with God. Maybe it's money, maybe it's friendships. But you know what? It's one of the most important ingredients, failure is one of the most important ingredients of success. You know, when I fail, it's an opportunity for me to do better. It's an opportunity for me to learn. It's an opportunity to conquer this fear of failure. And when we fail, we need to learn from that. Let me ask you a question. What have you avoided doing because of your fear of failing? Well, think about that for a second. What have you avoided doing because of your fear of failing? There's no way I could do this. There's no way I could do that. I want to do this with my relationship with my wife or my husband, but I just can't do it because you're afraid. You know what? We're going to fail. But knowing that you're going to fail, and knowing that God's going to be with you, and that God loves you anyway, even though you are a failure, is powerful. It helps you get back up, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. The other point is God often accomplished good results through failure. I look back and I look at my life and I see all my failures. I see things I've done wrong. I've seen things that I wasn't very good at. But you know what? The interesting thing is that God accomplished good results through those. And there's a lot you can learn in failure. You can learn humility. I'm a prideful kind of guy. And in times that I failed, I've learned humility. I've learned dependence on God when I fail. I've studied harder. I've dug in and I've done better. And failure helps to create character. You know what? Failure is only temporary. Thinking back to the guy I wrestled, that was in my mind for a long time. You know, some of the guys I was on the wrestling team with made fun of me for being a crybaby. And after I punched them in the nose, I was scared to do that. I didn't do that. But you know what? It was only temporary.